Welcome to MJ Hobby Corner on this lovely day. Today we will be playing 5150 Total War Tanks and Mechs by 2 Hour War Games. Welcome to MJ Hobby Corner and welcome to my studio, finally open for the season. This is where we will have all of our gaming adventures throughout the summer, hopefully. And, hopefully everything will go well. But I'm very excited to be filming here. And for today, as I said earlier, we're going to be playing 2 Hour War Games, Total War, Tanks and Mechs. This is by author Ed Teixeira, and I'm very sorry if I butcher that. So there's a couple of concepts important to the game and important to this series. Now, first and foremost, this is a series of 3 books. I own 2 of them. Tanks and Mechs is one of them, and then Star Army, 5150 Star Army is another book, and I do recommend having that book and maybe even playing that first. I started with Tanks and Mechs. It is a standalone game, but I think a lot of things are explained better in the Star Army book. Now, both books use the same core rules, and despite the fact that if you want to play just Tanks and Mechs, you can, as we will see in this video. But I think that Star Army, the actual rule book, does have some explanations and things that really help understand some of the things going on in Tanks and Mechs. And it'll definitely help you understand some of the differences that we'll see in vehicle combat versus infantry combat, as in Star Army. So, 2 Hour War Games, it's not a I go, you go system. It's based on an action-reaction mechanic. Turns can be very dynamic and very different from each other. You have a series of tables which you will need to learn how to use in order to play the game. Now, the tables are crucial. They basically run the mechanic. And so there's quite a few tables. You do have to learn how to use them and when. But the tables do have a lot of information that help you. The way they're designed, they help you. They tell you all the things you need to know to be able to play. Once you've learned the rules, you won't even need the rule book as much. You can play with all the information on the table. They'll tell you how to roll, what to roll, when to roll, etc., etc. What you do have to learn, which is explained in the actual book, is the sequence of tables. So when to use what and when. And aside from miniatures and terrain, you will need some tables from the back of the book. There's a series of sheets of tables. They run the game, so that will be important to print out. Preferably some different colors, 6-sided dice, something to mark possible enemy forces, and a roster sheet where you can keep track of your units and enemy units. I made this one myself on Microsoft Paint and just printed it out, so some kind of roster, and I do have the rules there in case I need them. So that's basically all we need to play. Alright, so now we use a 1d6 to determine where the PEFs will be coming from. And we begin with section 1, that is section 1, 2, 3, and then coming down here 4, 5, and 6. Right in between all those rocks. The little stones here are the markers of the square. So rolling 1d6, we have 3. Alright, number 6, okay, so that puts it all the way here. And that's very close. So I'm going to put it right there. And now going for the second PEF, a 5. Okay, so that is adjacent to that one. So that is somewhere. Here is the 5 square. These are the stones. Let's try to change that. We'll put it right there. That's behind the bush there. And that's still 5. Let's see. Or actually, I'll put them right here. This is all 5. So, okay. Right there behind the bush. And now we roll again a d6. That is a 2. Okay, so the last PEF, that's section 1 right there, that corner, 2. So we're going to put him right there. That'll be the center. So right in that terrain there. So there's one PEF. Here is another PEF. And then here is the third. And that is possible enemy forces are now on the table. And we have to see if what they are, essentially. If they are truly enemy forces or nothing at all. So in today's game, I will be playing Star Army. Now the cool thing about Star Army is that they have sophisticated weaponry, energy weapons, so you don't have to test to reload every time you fire, unlike other factions where you have to test to reload after your tank fires. So that's going to be cool. My enemy for today is going to be Hessian, the Hessian Empire. And they remind me of little gray aliens, except with a very strong imperialistic attitude, as the game itself portrays them as being not the nicest aliens, not the nicest people. So anytime I resolve a PEF, a Hessian force will come on the board. It could be a force of tanks, or a force of mechs, or a combined force, which is something that I kind of added myself. So it may be 1 mech and 2 tanks, something like that. So yeah, we'll see that in the game, hopefully. Well, I think it's time to drink up the coffee and get playing. The mech presented here is my very own mech. It represents the star, aka me. In 2-Hour Wargames, the star represents the player, and it has rep 5. The middle mech is a medium mech. It has rep 4. And finally, we have Jumper. This is a medium mech with jumping thrusters, and he is also rep 4. Rep is very important in the game as it controls a variety of different things. Everything from initiative to activations, shooting, everything is controlled by rep. And here you see examples of Hessian, my enemy. So this is a patrol mission, so we are on a recon of the board. To be successful, I must spend 1 turn of activation within 6 inches of the edge of the table in sections 1, 2, and 3. So anywhere in the middle of those squares would be about 6 inches from the edge of the table. And once this is accomplished, the mission ends, and I can report back by exiting the table from the section that I entered, which is section 9 here on the road. So I have to go up there, spend a turn on each of those squares, and come right back to this end of the table. Now, of course, if I defeat all the enemies, game is over. Well, that pretty much sums up the scenario and everything going on in the game. First thing is rolling activation, and it looks like Star Army is going to win that activation. So my star moves forward, and then I order a 90-degree turn. Mechs in 2-Hour Wargames get to turn twice 90 degrees. If they have moved at least half of their movement, they can turn twice in any subsequent movements. And so my mechs, the whole squad begins to align itself, and Jumper is the last one. He turns 90 degrees after having moved, and there is a possible contact. Something's on the screen. I roll for PEF resolution, which is 2 successes, and that is according to the campaign morale, which is 4, the enemy morale, and that's 2 successes, so that means there is contact, that is an enemy, and lo and behold, I roll 2 enemy squads. Immediately, 2 enemy squads will replace that PEF marker. So now the NPE, or non-player enemy, is revealed, and it's 2 squads of Hessian tanks. Those little gray aliens. They're just nasty. I have to roll for advantage before I can roll the action test, and I do have advantage, so if I roll even number, if 2 dice roll the same numbers, I get to claim that as my activation. So any number other than 6s, any double number other than 6 result will grant me the advantage. So Hessian prepares to roll their action test, and they roll their action test, and they pass with 1 success. And it looks like I failed the action test because a score of 6 is always a failure. So Hessian has just stolen my activation since they have passed more d6 than I do. So now they get to shoot. Combat happens immediately, and in 2-hour war games, the combat will proceed until all enemies have taken a turn. So now the first Hessian tank fires, and it has to pass a certain number of successes in order to hit me. And it goes for my star and actually gets a headshot because it rolled a double 4. Any double numbers rolled on a shooting test means a headshot against a mech. So now I take the APR of the enemy subtracted by my side armor. Because it is a headshot, I consider my armor to be side armor instead of front armor. And he scores 1 success on penetration right here on turn 1. Could you imagine that? And it turns out that I end up running out of my blazing mech shamelessly. There is the result. Tank mech out of the fight, and I run out shamelessly, but hey, my mech was burning. What could I do? So each time a Hessian tank fires, I mark it with a reload marker, and it looks like my medium mech is hit again with 1 success, and my guys run out. Not good. Already 2 mechs down. In this game, shooting continues until they just keep slugging it out until one side is completely destroyed or one side runs away. And this is another penetration hit. And Jumper, the final mech, is again destroyed and the crew runs out. Hessian just kicked my ass. I got to roll a couple of return fire successes. I actually did very well in the return fire. Anytime an enemy misses, I get to return fire. Now, if I miss on my return fire, then the enemy gets to return fire again. That's right, MJ. No. I got to destroy 1 enemy during my return fire, and 1 enemy. The crew ran out for a total of 1 squad being destroyed in that slug out. But there's still 3 enemies on the table, and Hessian wins a victory. This practice game was a disaster for Star Army. I mean, even with all their advantages, being able to fire without reloading, my star having his star points, and the different advantages that stars have, like free will and extraordinary effort, none of these things helped me in this case. So basically, I shamelessly ran out of my mech as it burned, and so did the rest of my squad. So yeah, very tough turn. Now, every game you play is different. Some games are not this hard. Some games, all your PFs, most of your PFs are not enemies. There's something out there, but it's not an enemy, right? Or outright, it tells you on the table, it's just a case of the nerves. You thought there was something there, but it's not. Either way, your final PEF is always an enemy. But some games you play, you'll only have one enemy force and you can deal with it. In this case, I was overwhelmed by 2 forces. So again, it's up to the dice. It's the dice gods that tell, and games can be very different. So I will be providing a snapshot, a battlefield snapshot of a second game that I tried. And here are the PEFs. This time we have one here. We have another PEF over here. And then we have one here, just the way it was in the last game. Now this time my forces have a different mech. Here he is. I have a different mech. I'm surprised they gave me another mech since I ran away the last game. And then I kept my jumper and my other medium mech. So there we go. This is section 7. 8 and then 9 is all the way down here. This is where we would deployed earlier. So 9, 8, and 7. So this time we're deployed on section 7. Players can deploy on either 7, 8, or 9. All right, let's see what happens. So first things first, we roll our activation roll. Same colors of dice as the last game. Red will be my dice. So PEFs move according to a table roll. They move 8 inches towards the closest enemy. So PEF moved here. This PEF moved here successfully to this cover. Moved its 8 inches. And this PEF failed one roll and had only 1 success. So this PEF does not move. So here's an activation roll for the next turn. And looks like Star Army has the priority, the activation. Activation is a little different from the actual action test that will come later if an enemy is spotted. And please ignore the infantry in the middle of the table. I forgot to remove them. And there we see a PEF being spotted. Oh, there is a possible contact. Now there is a PEF that moved behind this bush. This one did not move. Again, it failed to move this turn. So now just checking line of sight, but that one is hidden, and there is a contact right there. Let's see if it's a real enemy. We don't know what it is yet. There it is. Looks like 1 success. And something's out there, but not what we thought it was. So that PEF is removed. Activation roll. All right, I rolled a 4, so I am the activated side. I get to activate first, and it is under my rep of 5. So it looks like the PEFs may not be activating. The leader rep is 4. Well, let's see. Jumper moves up. He moves towards the edge of the hill. And then looks like the medium mech is also going to move down the hill. And so next to me on either one of my flanks, my mechs actually begin to move. And as long as they have 4-inch cohesion between the models, we're okay. We don't have to stay on top of each other. We can separate a little bit. So Jumper does spot that PEF. And oh, definitely the medium mech. It is definitely spotted. Blip on the screen. So we roll for the PEF resolution. Again, that's 2 dice. And it looks like something's out there. But we don't really know what it is. So that's something, that PEF is going to be removed. Now, this is going to leave 1 more on the board, and that means that that last PEF, that one is going to be something, no matter what. And that's a contact, PEF contact resolution, and the squad of Hessian tanks suddenly appeared on the table in the bush. So that was the result of the PEF table that we just rolled on. PF resolution table. The NPE have moved here, so because we are playing a patrol mission, they will come towards me and try to accomplish their mission, which is to destroy me. And so now it is the turn 5, and we have to see who has activation. So enemy X first, and they spot 2 of my mechs. There's Jumper up there, and the medium mech. My star is hidden, but those 2 mechs are spotted, and so now we roll on the action table. We roll advantage first, which is a d6, and in this case, the enemy are the movers, so they need a 1, 2, or 3. They get a 3, so yes, they do have advantage when rolling on the action table. Hessian rolls on the action table. Okay, and they're rolling under their rep, so rep of 4 for the leader. So yes, they have passed 2d6. And now I roll. They have advantage as well. Now I rolled 1 failure. So yeah, nobody rolled the same. Well, they rolled doubles right there as well, but I didn't roll. There's no doubles between us. Okay, so I have a failure there, and yeah, well, Hessian is definitely going to get the first action. Okay, so they pass more d6, so they're going to start with shooting. So the tanks are ready to fire, but there is a circumstance. This is taken versus the rep of the individual doing the shooting, and the tanks have moved. So that means they get a -1 rep. Well, this individual gets a -1 rep, and so that makes it a 2. So it's 2 or under. That means the result has missed. It has no successes. The lowest number is a 3 that it rolled, so it missed all targets. So I put a reload marker on it, and basically my mech now gets a chance to return fire on the Hessian tank that fired on him. So that's how this mechanic works. So we're gonna duke it out, and his rep is a 4, so that's 1 success, 4 or under. Now he is not in cover, the enemy is not in cover, so instead of a miss, it becomes a hit. So it is now going to the penetration table, and this is where we do a little subtraction. He is being fired at the front, so I use my APR, the APR of the mech, minus the front AR of the target. So the front armor of the target. And that gives me a 5, so 5s are under. And yes, 2 successes. That tank explodes. And everyone inside is gone. So Hessian tank 1 explodes. Now good return fire. Next tank misses with double 6, and that was the lead tank. And he was firing on Jumper. So Jumper's going to get a chance to return fire because this is a miss. And so we're going to pick up the dice and roll Jumper's return fire. They're also going against the front armor of the tank. And we roll 1 success. There is 1 failure, but there is 1 success. So that tank, again, is not in cover. So it does not count as a miss. It goes to the penetration table. And, yep, so we're going to do our little calculation again. And it's the same thing. It's APR 9 minus, I was pointing at the wrong thing there at first, but it's the front AR. Just as before, a 5 or under. Double fours, another exploding tank. Excellent return fire by Star Army. That's what I'm talking about. So 2 tanks destroyed, 1 left, and that 1 tank was the lead tank. I would definitely be rolling on the will to fight table after all this is over, if they get a chance. Because I may destroy this next tank here. Now there is a return, there is one more fire solution to do. And oh yes, he has my medium mech in sight. That is the closest mech. So he's going to fire on my medium mech. And the tank fires and misses. Because a miss triggers a return fire. And he rolls Snake Eyes. That is a hit. We can go to the penetration table. That is automatically in the penetration table. So we're doing our little calculation again, and it is going to be a usual 5 or under. 2 5s. Look at that. That is definitely a penetration, and the final Hessian mech explodes, and that takes care of Hessian. We complete our mission. Okay, well that is it for this part 2 of the game. This is the second game I've played today, and this time I did a lot better. I didn't do all the things I wanted to do, like I wanted to actually rush the tanks and do a stomp attack, which is something mechs can do against tanks. Mechs can also fight in melee, so that was too bad. And my star just basically chilled there while everybody else was taking fire. But hey, my guys did their job and destroyed the enemy. We now can go and patrol, recon this region and come back to where we were deployed, and mission accomplished. We can bring the information back to the high command. 2 games, 2 different results. So in future games, we're going to add reinforcements as well. That's something I took out just to practice the games. I like to practice that way, strip out a couple of things. But next time we need reinforcements, because that's an important part of the game. And there's a certain way to do it. So we should see that in the future. I think reinforcements would be very helpful, especially in that first game. Unless, of course, it was my enemy that got those reinforcements. So it could work both ways. So next time we will look into that. The game goes really fast, and it can be pretty brutal. The other thing I want to say is you have a lot of control over what kinds of things you want to include as your enemy. There's different factions, so you can try out different factions, and you also have bugs. And I am definitely going to look into doing a little bit of bug hunting. But I will have to say, bugs are really tough. If you let them get into melee with you, you're screwed. So yeah, giant bugs. That'll be maybe the theme for future games, and maybe for some really cool scratch builds. All right. So that was Tanks and Mechs, folks. Thank you for joining me. And this is a highlighted battle report. And I'll see you in the next battle report. And hopefully more 2-hour war game stuff in the future. I want to try out different games, learn different games. All right. So I'll see you in the next one. And thank you very much for your support. Bye now and take care.